Well, I'd like to continue now with distributive justice. If you would look into Velasquez, read page 88 to 96. Those are the pages that are talking about what I'm going to talk about now. As I said, distributive justice is sort of the central theme of much of our society. The idea of sharing benefits and burdens in a way that is fair. To recap, what Velasquez said is that the theoretical, formal principle underlying all theories of justice is the idea that equals should be treated equally, and unequals should be treated unequally. In other words, you want to give people who are the same, you want to give them the same standards, and people who are different for some important reason should be treated differently. So, for example, on a football team, the person who gets the job of quarterback is the one who is best able to pass, the ball, or run with the ball, or, who's best at uniting the team. It's a very important job, and you just can't give it out to anybody who comes along. Obviously, you want your team to win, so the person who's the best in terms of what the quarterback does should be given that job. It would be silly to give a 350-pound tackle or guard the job of quarterback. They're unequal. They're unequal in their abilities. The quarterback can't do what the guard does. The guard can't do what the quarterback does. They're unequal, so they're treated unequally, but it's not unfair because each one is suited to a different kind of position on the team. Now, in terms of material principles, in terms of what you're looking at, in terms of substantial ways of applying this theory, well, there's this theory of egalitarianism, which says that all people are equal in every respect, and that they should be treated equally. Again, we like to think of everyone being equal. It sounds nice, but suppose the government passed a law saying that everyone should pay $50,000 a year in income tax in order to reduce the national debt. Well, people who are rich would be very happy that, I'm paying $50,000 a year. That's a drop in the bucket. I make, $10 million a year. That's nothing. But the rest of us would be pretty much devastated by having to pay $50,000 a year. So, this idea that all people are exactly equal and should be given equal benefits and equal burdens doesn't really sit well with us, especially when we're talking about large burdens to be passed around. Another theory which is, many people like to talk about, especially young people like this a lot, is socialism, which says, from each according to his or her ability, and then to each according to his or her needs. In other words, the burdens are distributed according to people's abilities, and the benefits are distributed according to need. On a family setting, when everyone's pitching in and doing their share, this seems fair. Everyone does what they can do, and everyone shares fairly in the results of the efforts. Once we take it outside the family, however, it becomes a little more difficult. Suppose, for example, that you are a person, a husband or a wife, you have 2 kids, so there's 4 people in your family, and you get paid $100 a week for the job you do. And you work very hard, you have a very good job, but you work hard at it, you get $100 a week, $10 an hour. Another person who works at the same kind of job says, well, I can do this job only a little bit every day because I have a bad back. So this person works 4 hours a week instead of 40 hours a week, but they have 6 children and a wife, so that's 8 people, they get $800. So their need is $800, yours is $400, but they only work 4 hours. You work 40 hours and get $400, they work 4 hours and get $800. So they work 1/10 as much as you do, and they get twice as much. Somehow, I'm sure that most of us would feel that doesn't seem fair either, that people have to contribute, because we don't know if this person actually has a bad back or they're just saying that to get out of work. Given the fact that people are not honest and that people do try to take advantage of the system, socialism oftentimes runs into problems because people simply play the system to get as much as they can and do as little as possible. So countries like England and France, which have tried to adopt socialism, oftentimes have terrible problems with productivity. The economy is always in a slump because a lot of people just don't work very much. Another system is of applying these things. Another formal, material principle is libertarianism, which says from each as they choose, and to each as they are chosen. In other words, your burdens are whatever you choose to do, whatever kind of work you choose to do, and your benefits are whatever you make or whatever other people choose to give to you of their own free will based upon some trade you might make with them. Libertarianism is really the epitome of freedom in terms of philosophical systems, because they believe that no one should have anything taken from them against their free will, and people should never be forced to do anything against their free will. On the other hand, you don't get anything from others unless you give them something which entitles them, or entices them to give something back to you. So that's libertarianism. The final system I want to talk about, and the most important for us, is capitalism. Capitalism is also a system of distribution or distributive justice. And capitalism, if I can quote Velasquez here, capitalism is based on the idea that benefits should be distributed according to the value of the contribution the individual makes to a society, a task, a group, or an exchange. So, to summarize this, what this means is the burdens in capitalism are whatever job you choose to take on. So your burdens are whatever you choose to take on, and the benefits are the direct result of your efforts. So basically the benefits that you get through capitalism are as a result of the merit. In other words, the merit that you've achieved through your work effort, or the time in which you work, or the productivity. There are different ways to measure this output, but depending on how you measure it, you then are evaluated and given some sort of compensation based upon what you've contributed. This is very important, that capitalism is based upon the idea of merit. This is the whole basis of the capitalist system, that people should be rewarded for productivity, for contribution. Now, there are many pros and cons to this. Obviously, there are shortcomings here, because some people, because they're handicapped or elderly or lacking in education, have a really big problem entering sort of the workforce, entering into the system or game of capitalism. But theoretically, if we could get everyone in the game, and if everyone could be educated and have the right starting point, then it would only be fair that people do a good job, do a good day's work, and then are repaid or are compensated for what they do. This is the strong point of capitalism, and what it leads to is productivity, really high levels of productivity. People are really, really productive because they work hard, they produce something, and as a result, they're also benefited. They get compensated for what they do. So when capitalism works, it really stimulates productivity, because there's a tremendous incentive. If I know that I'm going to get a bigger reward if I work harder, then there's a good chance I will work harder. If I know I can double my salary by doubling my efforts, then that's what I'm going to do. And so capitalism works. When it works very well to increase productivity and makes people, lets people achieve, increased wealth and material happiness. There are a number of problems with capitalism, which we will talk about in the next video, and that has to do with the fact of whether or not we're entering into a truly free market where we can actually use our abilities properly. If we don't have a free market system where we can use our abilities, then we really won't be getting the benefits that we ought to get under the capitalist system. So I want to talk next about the free market, and that's going to be my next video. All right? Thank you.